Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of SuperFantaFi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Evil Season 4, Episode 5. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, let's start off with the assessment situation. Ben and David kind of got called into an assessment kind of after the fact, where a priest had performed an exorcism. The lady ended up slitting her wrist, and she started bleeding out, but it seems like she's going to be okay. And now it turns into I'm surprised this ended up being more of the episode, and I'm also curious to see if this ends up trailing over into the next episode, because it doesn't ever get properly resolved to an extent. I mean, they've had to deal with litigation before in the past when it comes to a case like an exorcism and stuff. He's like, yeah, because I forgot, like, that did super go sideways, because didn't, like, was it David's sister-in-law, the one that's, like, super into him, like, she was representing him, the church at the time, but essentially, yeah, because I forgot that did come up, but I thought this was going to come up this case, because now the church is in a liability situation, because there's supposed to be stuff set in motion before we even get to the exorcism, and it's like, oh, what's the insurance policy, like, what's the thing that's got to set up ahead of time to kind of be their insurance against this stuff, and it's like, well, them as the accessors are supposed to be, like, they're kind of like, they're the ones, once again, to assess things beforehand that kind of alleviate them from any legal repercussions, because usually it will prevent something like this from happening, or at least going down that route. So when it's all said and done, like I said, we don't really cover that for the rest of the episode, so who knows if that litigation stuff's going to come up later on in the next episodes or not. But it turns out the victim, her name is Vicky. She's a flight attendant, and her husband Marcus is a pilot. And so now it's like, what happened to her? Could it be related to her clothes? Like, could it be like new detergent? Because it turns out, like, there's marks and, like, it almost looks like boils. It looks like there's some kind of reaction her body's having. So now they're kind of trying to figure out what was related to all of this. So they go to, like, which is so interesting. It's like a room that apparently, like, all the flight attendants stay at, because it's how they make sure that rather than going all the way home just to come right back around, it's like a place they could just chillax and, like, you know, in between their shifts and stuff. It's kind of a really neat idea. I'd assume based on that it's actually a real thing. So they go in there to try and, like, check out Vicky's stuff. I love that the flight attendants are like, oh yeah, we're watching this thing on Netflix. Not on Netflix. They didn't say that, but they were like, oh, we're watching this binge thing that you have to watch. It's called The Haunting of Midnight Mass Club. I was like, shut the fuck up. If you're unaware, it's supposed to, that has to be like a wink and nod to Mike Flanagan, because those are the names of his shows on Netflix. He has two haunting series: The Haunting on Hill House, The Haunting of Bly Manor. He also has Midnight Mass, and he also has the sadly short-lived The Midnight Club. So it's like it's like those words all put together. It's like it's definitely meant to be an homage to Mike Flanagan. So I thought that was just kind of funny and dope. I was like, oh, that's interesting, especially like the binge thing, because they were Netflix shows, so you could binge all of them. So it's, once again, it's just so interesting. Either way, we kind of find out more about Vicky. It turns out she apparently saw, like, I forgot the name it was something with an L, but basically it's like a ghost pilot that if you see him, it means he's trying to take your plane down. And, you know, apparently, you know, the whole flight attendant is being super superstitious. Jesus, couldn't get that out. So it becomes this conversation about the fact is that Vicky had a side hustle, and that was her getting artifacts and selling them on the black market. So it's like, yeah, she found something she said would be her like retirement thing, because she's in her like Indiana Jones, Laura Croft, Nathan Drake bag a little bit. But she told Tori, her friend, being like, yo, I need to destroy this or it'll destroy me. we find out that the relic she has is potentially a piece to the cross, which I love. This whole situation gets the entity involved because I just don't want to say Doctor Jesus. Sorry, I'm a little scatterbrained this recording. I do apologize. Father Dominic shows up, and it's like, oh, you're part of the entity. He's like, no, there is no entity, and you guys are the other assessors. It's like, David's kind of talked a lot about you guys. It's like, okay, just let's pretend like the entity doesn't exist. And I love that the other priests in the room don't say anything, because it's like, yeah, let's not acknowledge that publicly. It's probably, the thing is, they're not supposed to know about the entity. They already did, but David also made it clear, like, yeah, you're in my life again. So, But yeah, the fact is that this is potentially a piece to the cross that Jesus was crucified on. So now the team has to go to Rome and deliver it. And even they're like, why us specifically? Like, I mean, for one, David going makes a lot of sense, but why us, me and Ben, considering like we are kind of the atheists of the group? It's like, well, you each have your own respective fields and you need to explain things. It just seemed like BS. It's like, couldn't you also get, like, it feels like something like, wouldn't the entity want to like take, I mean, you sending David makes sense because David's kind of the person you send out to do stuff, but I'm like, you think you want this to be a little more close circuit than it is, but they're like, no, you're going to do it. Oh, and it's going, this non-negotiable, you kind of have to do it. And then like the other guy is like, the one that's kind of their boss is like, no, I'm asking you politely. And then Dominic was like, yeah, your flight's tomorrow. Because even though David was like, yeah, give us time to talk. He's like, sure, but your flight's tomorrow. It's like, okay, you're really pushing this. I mean, you do recognize that, you know, Kristen does have kids and all. She didn't have to put up too much of a fight. Her kids are a little older. Everything that's going on in her personal life, I think she didn't want that to kind of interfere with work. But it's still the thing of, you're asking me to go to a different country. Even if I'm there for only like a couple hours, it's still the thing of, I'm going to be gone for a while. You know, I mean, yeah, people in your life, but it's like everything with Andy and her. And her, like, normally she would leave this up to her mom, but obviously her and Cheryl are not in a good place. We'll talk about the family side of things in a little bit with everything with her kids. But either way, they take the flight there. To our knowledge, the flight seems okay, except for Ben's bad joke about, the plane crashing. It's like, I get it. Like, even though it's like, don't do that. Like, even it's like, you're putting bad juju out there. That it is kind of that thing. You put that bad energy out there, it can come back to you in some shape or form. But like, you know, Ben's coming from the perspective of, the plane's not going to crash just because I made a bad joke about it crashing. It's like, yeah, but why tempt fate? Because fate is fickle, and it's just kind of like, oh, bet you want to throw that out there? Like, let me hit you with the biggest amount of irony possible. Either way, they make their way to Rome, and they're in this car with these other priests, and it's just kind of like, and Kristen wants to take photos, and it's like, oh, can we roll down the windows? And they're just like, no. It's like, cool. It's like, they didn't actually get to spend any time in Rome. You know, they are here for work and not vacation time. But I love that Kristen gets so petty. I love how off Kristen is this season. Like, she's always had a little bit of a jokey side, but she's definitely leaned into kind of being a little more wacky this season. Because her singing like a sex song, and David's just looking at her like, what the fuck are you doing? It's like, because, you know, they're saying like, oh, these priests don't understand English. But later on, they kind of give them the stink eye and don't talk to them. And Kristen's like, what? Did we do something wrong? And David just looks at her like, what the fuck you think, Kristen? You were up here singing it. It's like, oh, they can't understand English. They did respond in English at one point, like, oh, get out. So kind of implying, like, and Chris almost had this look like, oh, you guys, you do speak a little English, so you probably do understand everything I said. They did kind of seem annoyed from what she was saying, but it's like, it is like an atheist poking the bear. So obviously Ben found it hilarious. David, not as much. It's like, as a professional, it probably like, it's kind of embarrassing, but he loves Kristen, so he's just like, this is what Kristen does, and I'm not going to like chastise her for it, but it just couldn't put me in an awkward position. So, but they already know what time it is when you bring Kristen and Ben, who are not religious people. I love the like very like cloak and daggerness of it all. It's like, oh, let's go into this building and we're not telling you what's what. Go down this creepy like tunnel, and it's like, what's this all about? And lo and behold, who's at the end of it? Father Dominic. I was like, what the fuck are you doing here? And he's just like, oh yeah, like, hope you guys enjoyed the flight and stuff. It's like, but why didn't you fly with us? And he's like, no reason. Ben's like, no, there has to be a reason. He was like, holy shit. We were the guinea pigs, because you didn't know for sure if the plane was going to go down. I love Dominic being the most unconvincing possible. Like, what? No, no. I'm like, cool, that brings a lot of confidence. I was like, that's super fucked that you were just like, yeah, they were your test guinea pigs. But like, they don't fight it too much. They're like, whatever. So it wouldn't be the first time like the church kind of does its thing like that. So either way, they make their way to the cross and they try to piece it in, but it doesn't fit. I was kind of like, okay, my immediate thought was like, is this some kind of trap? And that's not really like the real. Well, we find out it is it's a replica, it's a fake. But I was wondering, like, are we gonna find out, like, was it supposed to be like oh, this thing's actually not good, and like it's corrupted and it's going to corrupt the cross? Like, I thought something like that, like, oh, it's going to send some demonic energy through it. To some extent, yes, but it was more so in the box that encased it rather than the cross itself, because it ended up being a forgery. I was also kind of worried when Dominic was trying to fit it into place, it wouldn't fit. I was like, please don't tell me you're going to mess around and like actually break the cross itself. But that didn't happen. So now they're getting sent back home, and it's like, right, this was all kind of for nothing. So it's like, right, Vicky didn't steal a real artifact or relic, but it's like, yeah, but all the symptoms she's been exhibiting kind of was like, right, so it's got to be like psychosomatic, that it's like because she believes she stole a real relic and she truly believes herself to be cursed, that is, once again, you kind of manifest that, just like a placebo effect of like, oh, the opposite of placebo effect of like, oh, because I believe this negative thing, now it's like now having a negative effect on my body. It's kind of what they were implying, but we don't get a resolution to it in the episode, so that might have been the solution, might not be. Because all David does is tell the father that was at the hospital with her, like, hey, just, like, use some holy water and tell her she didn't steal a real artifact. She's not guilty, so that might help some. Either way, on the plane ride back, that's when shit gets a little shaky, because they run into, hey, Tori, we made friends with you back at that motel or hotel room. And it's like, wait, is that the thing that Vicky stole? Why'd you put it up here, bring it up here? It's like, don't worry, it's a fake. She's like, cool, flight attendants were super suspicious. And I love Kristen being like, oh yeah, my drink. And then David's like, stop it. She's like, what? I want my drink. While she and David are sleeping in bed, like the light nearby keeps flickering on, and it cuts on and keeps shining down on the box. I was like, that's fucking weird. It's interesting that the person that would notice it wouldn't even be David, the religious person, the literal priest here. It's Kristen, which even her and Ben had that whole conversation where she was captivated by like the whole ceremony thing of like, there's this monk like he's blindfolded and he's saying some chant while David and Dominic were getting ready to like try and test out the relic and see if it was part of the cross. And the way Kristen was kind of saying, like, right, it's kind of old rituals, that it's, because he's like, oh, you're still so Catholic, like, they still have such a hold on you. She's like, yeah, but it's like, the ritual of it still kind of tugs at you a little bit. She's like, it's very Freudian in a lot of ways. So I don't know if that kind of, there's a layer to it, thinking about the fact that Kristen's the one that wakes up. But David also gets woken up because Dominic made sure to, like, call them on a plane, which I'm like, well, I guess that shows the power of, well, the church and the entity and stuff to be able to make that happen. But it's also like kind of wild. It's like they were there and you were so fixated on the relic itself, you didn't realize that the box itself is some, like, you didn't figure it out until after they left. I was like, that's bullshit. Shouldn't someone, like, you guys were examining the cross, but I guess that's the thing, they got so up in their business about like the cross, they didn't think much of the box. It's like, well, I guess you wouldn't think much of it, but it does seem like a very specific box. But hell, I gotta admit, I didn't even think about the box being anything significant until they brought up, like, oh, turns out it's a demon box. And it's like, it's part of some like stuff that's been brought into New York, because New York seems to be the centerfold of all this. Makes a lot of sense. This is where Leland, and it seems to be the centerfold of like their the operation of evil. So it's like, yeah, the box needs to kind of make its destination, is what Dominic was saying. Like, I guess it's like, if it doesn't make its destination, that's going to be an issue. I mean, it did sound like he was saying like, maybe he did. I'm trying to remember. It didn't sound like he was saying destroy it like David ultimately does, but it starts causing issues on the plane, and David himself actually starts seeing the pilot that's supposed to be like, oh, you see him, that means he's going to take down the plane. So David uses the holy water and destroys the box that the cross was in, or the piece of it was. So now you're like, okay, so was that legit? I'm sure like Ben or Kristen would immediately, maybe say, or at least Ben's justification be like, well, that wasn't actually holy water, it was acid, or maybe because there's a certain process that makes you think it's holy water that makes the water acidic, kind of lending itself to be kind of holy water, or maybe there's something just in the water in Rome that kind of made the water acidic. I'm sure like Ben could justify it scientifically on why it burned the box, because it looked like it was like acid, but it's just regular holy water, at least supposed to be. So because at the same time this was all going down, there's a demonic voice on the intercom system, and just the pilot acting, I guess like up front he couldn't hear it like everyone else, because after the voice went away he was just like, oh yeah, sorry about that bad weather, we're almost about to land in JFK. And I'm like, you were just so calm after hearing. I mean, once again, you as a pilot need to be calm so that the passengers are calm, but like I guess you're not hearing. I don't think the intercoms, well, it makes sense. Of course you wouldn't. You talk through the intercom, so of course you're not going to be able to hear any of that feedback that the rest of the whole plane is hearing. I mean, you'd assume they all heard the demonic voice, and that wasn't just our trio, because it's like, so that all worked out in the end. So that's fascinating. On the flip side of the episode, we have Kristen having to leave her kids behind. And it's a rough time because they are dealing with the fact is that their dad's going through what he's going through. In fact, like the moment they got back with Kristen at the beginning of the episode, they were just like eating cereal and they were so quiet. They're always rambunctious and loud, talking over each other. That was just a moment of like, they're just like too sad to really talk. And, Kristen goes in the bathroom just to break down a little because she had to like present a strong front, but she's worried and scared. And it's just like, what does this mean for Andy? Like, hopefully he'll be able to get some help, but it's still the scary thing of not knowing, And obviously the girls kind of picked on it too, because like, what was it? Lila and Lynn were talking about it amongst themselves. They're like, yeah, did you like mom? Like she woke up screaming. It's like, I think mom's having nightmares. So they're definitely picking on stuff. But it also, Kristen's picking up on stuff because Lila's like, are you getting into more into religion? She's like, I don't know. Because she's like, mom thinks so. I was like, oh, so I guess Kristen has picked up on it, but she hasn't said anything to Lynn because she doesn't want to like terrify Lynn. It's like, right, I want you to come to me when you feel comfortable enough. So I don't know if like some of the times Lynn thought she was being super stealthy, hiding stuff from Kristen. Kristen might have picked up on it, just hasn't said anything because it's like, right, I know I kind of laid down my groundwork and I just don't want to make you feel awkward or scare you off. So I just rather you talk to me when you're ready to talk to me about it. For Kristen, or maybe there's just been other stuff that has kind of led Kristen to believe this whole element of, that Lynn's getting more religious. Either way, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. The fact is, it wasn't just supposed to be the girls at the house. Yasmin was supposed to kind of chillax over for a little bit, which I even love. Yasmin's like, oh yeah, did you ever resolve that egg situation? Kristen's like, I'm going to talk to you later about that. So funny how that all comes together in this episode. But Yasmin gets brought away because she's like, right, her mom's in a assisted living home. There was like a branch that fell into her room. I guess like little Donnie Darko-ish. Obviously it was more than like, what was it? It was a whole tree. It wasn't just like a branch. It was a whole tree in Donnie Darko, right? I haven't seen I've seen Donnie Darko like, well, I think I've seen it all the way through. Maybe I've seen big chunks of it, but maybe I've never seen it all the way through. But I've seen Donnie Darko before, but it's been a very, very long time, so I don't remember it that well. Either way, I was like, yeah, that's kind of suspicious that Yasmin gets called away. She's like, yeah, I'm going to be going an hour. And I'm like, yeah, it seems like you're going longer. The power ends up going out because the girls kind of blow the switch. But you're kind of like, nah, it seems like this was all purposeful. They can't get in contact with their mom at first. They couldn't get in contact with the neighbor or Yasmin. Interestingly enough, who was the one person they could turn to in this time? It's none other than Cheryl. So it's like, all right, so this all was meant for the purposes of because also before Cheryl could leave, it's like, take the baby with you. And she's like, oh, you idiot. So it seemed like it was all purposeful just to kind of, Andy was supposed to be the means of trying to bring Timothy closer to Kristen by removing Laura from the equation, but now this has inadvertently brought Timothy closer to the family, and now, jumping ahead, the girls now know the truth about him being their brother, so that's going to be interesting for Kristen to have to explain, but it's also supposed to be a secret, and are they going to be able to keep that secret from their mom, because, they're going to have to reveal how they know about that, because the only people who know about that currently and know all that, because Kristen hasn't talked to David or Ben about the baby situation at all, even though she held the baby 2 episodes ago, but she hasn't said anything to anyone, so the only person who would know is Cheryl, so we'll see. Because the girls had to deal with after the power went out, some bats were in a hole in the basement. They run out of the house. The house door locks behind them. They tried to get to the little other section of the house that their mom works out of, and it turns out that's locked too. They didn't get the extra key because there was a centipede or something on the rocks. So everything that can go wrong went wrong, and lo and behold, who did they call to kind of bail them out of it? None other than Cheryl. I think I did mention it before that it is interesting, the Lexus of it all, because she's kind of got her demonic situation going on, and then there's Timothy, who's the full-blown Antichrist. But it still never correlated in my head that Lexus would immediately kind of be like, oh, she's able to be very attuned with Timothy being like, oh, he doesn't want to eat his ball, he just wants to be held. And it's like, yeah, this is interesting. And even Cheryl took notice of it. It's like, oh yeah, you two kind of get along well, which I think is also ironic and interesting too, considering Lynn is going down her religious route. What does that mean in correlation with her brother and her sister, considering the Antichrist thing as well as the demon thing that Lexi's going through all together. So, but like I brought up, Cheryl drops that info. It's literally the last scene of the episode is her telling them, it's like, yeah, this is your brother, which I'm sure they've got a million questions about who's the father. And it's like, well, they've had their history with Leland when he was playing that game, playing that pig character in that game. And on top of that, it's like, well, they don't know this, but he's also the dude that's driving your dad crazy with the Feliz Navidad song and everything. So, and mind controlling him to almost kill your baby sister for the purposes of bringing your baby brother into the fold, and just it's all kinds of fucked. So, a lot of interesting developments. I'm curious to see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. Will there be, like I said, anything with Vicky, anything with the aftermath of the box situation, Kristen getting asked any questions about this Timothy situation, and now that Andy's been removed from the board, especially with everything Kristen's going through right now, trying to juggle everything, will that kind of push her to inadvertently, for one, end up getting closer to Cheryl? Because that's what happened previously. She wasn't on good terms with Cheryl. Cheryl popped up just to kind of be that shoulder you can lean on at a trying time like this. So that plus the baby might be the... Well, she finds out about Cheryl's connection to the baby. Would she be even more reluctant to bring Cheryl back into the family fold? Or I'm so many questions I have about how this all going to shake out and play out in the next episode, if at all. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.